Hey, good Monday morning, Meridian Avenue Baptist Church. Thanks for the late start on this with family being in town after not being available much for them yesterday. But what a great weekend for Meridian Avenue Baptist Church. Saturday night, the youth reunion, seeing people come together, and then to our time of worship yesterday, which was great. And then also our community event was an awesome thing. We were able to meet some new people. Met a guy riding his bike home from Open Streets ICT, and he stopped by and said, "Hey, this is an awesome thing." He said, "I wouldn't be surprised if more people show up." The police officer who was providing security for us, off-duty police officer, he called his wife who lives in Augusta. They came over from Augusta, brought their kids, and hung out with us for an afternoon. The cool thing was she gave me some amazing tips on how to do some better social marketing on Facebook. So I appreciated that. The neighbor next door who heard the goings on came over to see what was going on. His kids brought him over. And so thankful for those kind of things and be willing to take a time to step out in faith and do some of that. My message yesterday focused on memorial stones, those multi-purpose stones. They were a reminder to the Israelites of the things that had happened in the past. But remember, that generation was not the generation that complained and moaned the whole time, because that generation passed away before this new generation was allowed to come in. And the stones were a reminder to them to tell the next generation of what happened in their lives and that how good God was to bring them to that place. But it was also a reminder to leave that life behind and move into a new life of adventure with God. They were going to take the promised land. They were going to move in, but it was still much work to do. They had to get rid of the inhabitants of that land to be able to take over and fully enjoy. The Israelites, in doing so, were then asked to leave some things behind, and that was my challenge for you yesterday. I was sitting here wearing my Bible Smugglers t-shirt from Voice of the Martyrs, a reminder to me that some people left things behind to be able to do God's work. And so the question I asked in worship yesterday was, what are you willing to leave behind in order that we might tell the next generation? And then I began to think about the disciples. I think about Peter, again, one of my favorite characters, the owner of a owner of a ship and a fishing business with his brother Andrew, maybe even likely partners with James and John, who were their cousins, walked away from all that. He ministered in Asia after the ascension of Jesus into heaven and worked his way to Asia and then back to Rome, where he was martyred for sharing the gospel. I think of Andrew, who again left that fishing business with his brother, who made it to Greece and ministered there and was crucified. And then also, how about Thomas? Doubting Thomas, went to India to share the gospel. Matthew walked away from a very prosperous job as a tax collector, in which nobody liked him anyway. Even the only other people that liked him were tax collectors and other sinners. But walked away from a job, just got up and left that job to go to work for the Lord. Ended up in Parthia. I liken this idea of being a service to the kingdom to my dad in the military. Now, my dad was in the military. I went to 13 schools in 12 years growing up. But he saw that wherever Uncle Sam asked him to go, that was part of his purpose. That was part of his calling. Did we go some places we didn't like? Yeah. Did we go to some places that we absolutely loved and then had to leave? Yes. But that was part of the calling, to leave behind some things that we had, that we liked. I had experiences, no matter where we went, that were people could never have. Playing high school football in London, England, playing high school football in Belgium, traveling around. It's been the same way in ministry. We left behind some things when we moved from El Dorado and went into full-time ministry, but I would never trade them for the experiences we've had. What are you willing to leave behind to have some new experiences in the Lord? People that we might meet because we stepped out in faith, got our toes in the water. What are you willing to leave behind in terms of traditions and things that maybe are not attractive to a next generation? I'm not saying change our theology, but maybe some of the way that we do things that might lead us to the next generation, because this is what Joshua said these memorial stones were for. To remind us to tell the next generation about the goodness and greatness of God. How he sent his son Jesus to die on the cross for us. Hey, what do you need to leave behind? What do you need to walk away from? What do you need to change? in order to tell the next generation. Hey, have a great week. Thank you for a wonderful weekend. Continue to share that story, but how do we take that story now to a next generation? Have a great week.